It's the second round of the championship at the Sepang F1 circuit in Malaysia. Many of the drivers are convinced they're facing the toughest test of the year. It's another leap into the unknown as we wonder if the engines and tyres will go the distance. These two should know. Welcome back, Martin Brundle and James Allen.
Thank you very much, Jim. Good morning, everybody back in the UK and watching us around the world. A smoky but extremely hot Sepang in Malaysia, about 25 kilometres north of Kuala Lumpur in the tropical areas of Malaysia. This is the 3.5-mile Sepang circuit. This is the 7th time we've been here, and undoubtedly the hottest race of the season, and the hardest race of the season as well. And just to raise the stakes a little bit, the drivers have to start this race using the engines that have already done one Grand Prix in all the practice sessions so far this weekend. And they've got to make one set of tyres last the whole race, and that perhaps more than anything else is going to be the key to this afternoon's Grand Prix, particularly managing the rear tyres. Some good opportunities for people later in the race who've been careful earlier in the race. Well, whoever wins today will certainly have thoroughly deserved it, as this is a game of endurance Formula 1 style for the spectators too. Everybody's sweating hard there in the grandstands, drinking lots of fluid. I can tell you that the drivers certainly have taken on about 5 litres of fluids since breakfast this morning, and they will lose 4 of those during the course of the Grand Prix. About half a stone in body weight comes off the drivers during the course of the Grand Prix. Just to give you an idea, when Martin and I were down in the pits there filming that little piece on qualifying, I put a bottle of cold water down on the floor, and when we finished about 5 or 10 minutes later, I picked it up and it was like drinking tea. It's that hot here in Malaysia. But what a prospect we have in store as a Grand Prix, one of the most exciting prospects I can remember for a long time. We've got the 2 Renaults of Alonso and the Melbourne winner Fisichella starting first and third, with Jarno Trulli once again in the Toyota getting himself up onto the front row of the grid, as you can see there, with Mark Webber doing a super job to put the Williams up into 4th. But watch out for the danger man today, Kimi Raikkonen. McLaren not really on the pace it seems in the qualifying sessions, but we have indications that car is carrying a lot of fuel today, and he'll be looking to pick off Ralf Schumacher and Webber in the first round of pit stops, and then maybe have a go at the Renaults later on if he's got the pace. Excellent effort from Klian and Coulthard to get themselves there onto the 4th row of the grid, as you can see. Jenson Button now. And then to the back of the grid, and some big names in unfamiliar places. Juan Montoya, Rubens Barrichello, Michael Schumacher. What fun that's going to be. Michael Schumacher behind Barrichello, not only on the grid, but in the World Championship as well. He wants a result today. And Anthony Davidson, you can see 15th on the grid. He starts today because Takuma Sato, Martin, is still in the medical centre, still attached to a drip with some bizarre kind of fever which afflicted him over Friday night. Davidson put into the car on Saturday morning, and it's a pretty tough test for him, isn't it?
It is. It'll be a very big wake-up call. Anthony needs a strong afternoon, though. Sauber is reputed unhappy with Villeneuve. They're quite vociferous about it in some ways. And somebody like Anthony Davidson or Frank Montagny from the Renault team, maybe 2 or 3 guys that will quite fancy a shot at that drive. And Anthony has got the stage now to demonstrate he should be and could be a fully fledged Grand Prix driver. But, no way, Sato, even if you're a bit sick, I don't think you can drive. Normally you can just, once the adrenaline starts pumping, we're all adrenaline junkies as racing drivers, you can get through anything, but not if you've got a really heavy fever or a massive stomach bug. Even the great Michael Schumacher appears to be sweating gently, merely perspiring, I would imagine, for Michael, but he's got a long afternoon. I saw Ross Brawn on the grid and said, "Hey Ross, how's it looking?" "It's a long walk," was all he would say as he was heading back down there. But Rubens seems, in fact, there's a lot of confidence on it. Cars we think looked horrible in qualifying or underperformed. You talk to the people in the teams like, "Oh, no, we're not too bad." They're quite pumped up about their fuel loads or their opportunities. And the default is, of all of them, yeah, but let's see how many engines get to the end of this, the second race. And I think that's inspiring just about everybody on the grid to give them a chance of outperforming where they probably should be at the end of this Grand Prix, except, of course, Renault.
You saw Fernando Alonso there just pointing as if to an imaginary watch on his wrist, saying, "Are they going to get this thing going or what?" The engines have been starting for a while, and I know all of the drivers who are going through the second weekend on one engine are concerned about engine wear. I should tell you that Nick Heidfeld, the two Minardi drivers had changed their engines before this weekend, and of course, controversially, so too did the two VAR drivers. They parked the cars before the end of the Australian Grand Prix so they could have a new engine for this Grand Prix. Everybody else is using an engine that's gone right through the Melbourne weekend and all the way through this weekend as well.
Bit of an irony for Button though, isn't it, that his engine had a sort of a technical fault really with the oil pump that pretty much hampered his weekend, but that's the luck of the draw in that respect. You can, there's sort of misty, hazy aspect you can see to your picture. I think you need to adjust your set. There's some forest fires in the distance and around here that's just clouding the whole atmosphere.
Yeah, we have seen that before, very early on. First came to Malaysia back in 1999, if you recall, Eddie Irvine there winning the Grand Prix after Michael Schumacher made his comeback from a broken leg at Silverstone. Let Irvine through to win that day. Pretty smoky on that weekend as well, as I remember, forest fires. But they will dampen the spirits of everybody in Formula 1 because I think everybody thinks this is going to be an exciting race. Not least that man in the centre there, just jogging along, Mike Gascoigne in the Toyota red trousers. Moved from Renault's technical director over to Toyota. He considers this a 1-2-3 for Gascoigne really, with Alonso, Trulli and Fisichella, two Renaults and a Toyota up the front. Certainly claiming some of the responsibility for Renault's current success. So he's on to a winner today one way or another. Watch out for the McLarens and the Ferraris. As you were saying, there is a feeling that they will go perhaps 20-25 laps into this race where the Renaults might stop a little earlier.
Grumbling from Instone, the Renault factory, I could hear them from here, halfway around the world on that one. But, yes, anyway, I think there are a number of people out there who've got sensible packages underneath them. Obviously, Renault are very strong. It'll be interesting to see how long the Toyota can keep its tyres in. They're saying no problem. This time around is the right temperature, the right zone for their tyre choice, unlike Melbourne 2 weeks ago. So they're saying they're confident they can maintain front-running pace. We'll have to wait and see. Weber did a good job to get up to fourth. Raikkonen, we think, is back with fuel in sixth, with the McLaren, as you pointed out, James. And the Red Bull car, just they underperformed. Both Clean and Coulthard, I think, missed half a second yesterday in qualifying one. And I think they are genuine, certainly top 10 and probably top 6 contenders this afternoon. And of course, really what we've got to watch out for is what can Ferrari make of their dreadful grip position? Can they turn it into something better?
Sounds very calm, doesn't he?
Yeah, just a few minutes.
You can warm the tyres up to turn 14. Warm the tyres all straight up to turn 14.
Too late, they're back.
All systems look fine, Fernando. All systems okay.
That was from a little earlier on. He's one that leads out to that back straight. So they're all forming up for the second time in his career. Fernando Alonso starting his Malaysian Grand Prix from pole position. Jarno Trulli alongside him. It's vital that Fisichella gets him into the first corner for his race strategy. Webber and Schumacher behind. Raikkonen, Clean, Coulthard, Button and Heidfeld the top 10. And what of Schumacher and Barrichello from the back end of Ferraris? It's all to play for over 56 laps of this Sepang circuit. Where are the lights? Here they are. When they go out, we'll be racing in Malaysia. Are you ready? Go! Away goes Alonso, but Trulli is away nicely as well. Fisichella will not be able to get him. Alonso comes across gently. Look at the Ferraris. Barrichello has a go around the outside of the Williams. And into turn one they go, and they're in as they started the Grand Prix. But in midfield, there's a lot of changes.
And remember, in turn two, they tend to Constantina. Will they get through today? Yes, they have. I think Coulthard had a good start. I think Anthony Davidson had a very poor start towards the back of the field, unfortunately. But at the moment, it's Alonso, Trulli, Fisichella.
And it looks as though Montoya and Barrichello touched on the way out of three. Raikkonen is well up, Button is challenging him. Now Barrichello, Michael Schumacher behind Felipe Massa down in 14th and 15th places. Ferrari have not had a good openings to this Grand Prix so far. You can see the Williams there duking it out with Massa Saba. With a Red Bull, I beg your pardon, of Clean. So it's all going up in midfield.
It was Heidfeld and Coulthard, I think, were jockeying for position. So Heidfeld, let's work out if it was him or whether it was Webber falling back. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I think, and there comes it Raikkonen through past Montoya past Barrichello, all happening back there.
Certainly is. Alonso leads, Trulli second, Fisichella third, fourth is Webber, fifth is Ralf Schumacher, sixth Raikkonen, seventh is Button, eighth David Coulthard, ninth Nick Heidfeld. Clean has dropped back 2 places behind his teammate David Coulthard, so a poor opening lap for Christian Clean. Montoya and Barrichello though, there's an awful lot of action going on between those two. They're battling it out for 11th place. Michael Schumacher 14th and Anthony Davidson 16th at the moment.
Yeah, it was Heidfeld and Coulthard in turns 5 and 6 that were having a good battle. Heidfeld with a great start.
Certainly was. So across the line first time round, 8/10 of a second. Then look at this battle here, coming down the straight between Jenson Button trying to get past Kimi Raikkonen. That's a pass for 6th place, and it looked pretty easy for Button, who's obviously carrying perhaps a little bit less fuel than Raikkonen. And certainly everyone believing that the McLaren is going to run quite long into this Grand Prix, but Raikkonen didn't try too hard to defend that. Once he made the move across to the pit wall, he didn't make another one.
Yeah, much tidier first lap than we've often seen here in Sepang. I think it's this sort of afternoon mindset. Right, let's look at the whole Grand Prix. They're on lap 3. He's 14 seconds. And that's Davidson as well. It's the second BAR with an engine problem. So it looks like we've lost both of them. At the moment, Button's 11 seconds slow in the first sector 2, cruising already. So both BAR Hondas, one out of the race and one, I suspect, about to be. Here's a replay of the start. You can see at the back the Jordan ducking around the slow starting Davidson. And at the front, it's Linus Stern for the 2 Renaults, truly holding his own. And a good scrap, left middle of your picture. I think it was Coulthard, Montoya and co on board then with Ralf Schumacher, and that's Mark Webber to our right. And let's see what happens. Watch him first time around. Neatly tidy. Webber claims rightfully the inside line, and it's getting very tight in the middle of the pack, wasn't it?
You saw that Heidfeld and Barrichello were getting very close to the pit wall and run down to turn 1. Heidfeld had a very eventful start, so was Rubens Barrichello. Montoya involved with them as well. Heidfeld came out of it well though. Look at that, down this Button making the move on Kimi Raikkonen. We saw just a lap ago before problem struck for Jenson Button, who's now dropping right down the order and has stopped, in fact, out on the circuit. He and Davidson have stopped in the middle sector of the circuit. And Ted Kravitz, maybe tell us something about that.
Absolute despair down here on right in the BAR garage. The mechanics were looking so good. Jenson had such a good opening lap. They had a feeling that there was going to be some kind of after effects of Jenson's oil leak on Friday. Jenson was so angry about that, he knew it would compromise the engine. But then Davidson to have what looks like an engine failure on that car too. Of course, it has done the Australian Grand Prix in the hands of Takuma Sato, but that was a complete surprise. The look on the Honda guys' face are unbelievable. They're all completely inconsolable down here.
And the drivers will be too. Isn't it ironical there? That's the team that chose to pit early and put fresh engine.
Slowly down the back straight, was getting out of the air, and the two came together, took each other out of the Grand Prix. And over in Germany, ever since then, there's been an enormous amount of flack for Michael Schumacher in the German media. Some of them calling him Rambo at one point. They do like to exaggerate a little bit, the tabloids over in Germany. But nevertheless, it's a bit of a cause célèbre, and he has come in for a lot of negative publicity over there. Finally, I will understand, was moved to issue a small apology to Heidfeld during the drivers' meeting on Friday afternoon. So that episode is parked away in the past. Into the pits comes the race leader on lap 21.
Didn't really attack that speed line, but he's got a cushion, he doesn't need to take risks, and 10 is down there.
Indeed, and the Renault boys are waiting for him. They've got the pressure adjusters, they take the dust caps on, put the pressure adjusters on, just like we said. It's just like in your garage forecourt, exactly the same. Good stop, the fuel hose comes up. Oh, that's very close with the Jordan on the exit for Alonso.
Yeah, we saw that, the Jordan just in front, they very nearly hit. Trulli is in as well. And look at him, he's feeling really racy. He's got the tyres pointed back out to the pit lane. He wants to get on with this one this afternoon. He's really in the mood for it.
Yeah, and Trulli's tyres didn't look too bad either. And obviously the Jordan would have got out of Alonso's way. He would not have really held him out because they're all on the same speed limiter. That's going to hold Montoya up badly, isn't it, going into there.
Montoya 6th. So Trulli rejoins in 5th place. Raikkonen
where he was, there just isn't really a braking zone there to make the difference.
Well, the Ferrari technical director Ross Brawn, as McLaren get ready for Raikkonen, he's into the pits. He told me that one of the problems, Martin, with coming into the pits here, there's a lot of dirt on the pit apron. It gets on your tyres, and when you go out, it sticks to it. The grip doesn't come back for a little while. few little adjustments. Any sign of anything much?
Yeah, bit of front wing. I don't know if it goes up and down when they do that, but I suspect as the race unfolds, they're all starting to struggle with oversteer. The back end of the car sliding. Is that a
Fisichella.
yellow?
So he's done it. He's done it. Kimi Raikkonen has jumped Mark Webber. That's what he wanted to do by running long in the first stint, and he's also jumped Ralf Schumacher as well. Barrichello's got in front of Ralf Schumacher as Michael Schumacher pits. Not particularly late into this Grand Prix. Not a particularly large amount of fuel going in. He's 2 stopping this afternoon, and he's not in this race at all. He was 30 seconds behind the race leader before he made that stop.
I'm told the pit lane Raikkonen put more front wing on, and therefore, just to give him a bit more on the nose, reduce the amount of understeer. We haven't seen much of his car, so I don't really know what the balance looks like, although of course it's what it feels like that matters. And that is Raikkonen off the track, and he's got a right rear puncture. He is now allowed to change that under the regulations, but he can't refuel at the same time, but he doesn't really need to. He's just been in the pits. That's compromised. Well, that's wrecked his afternoon, hasn't it? Especially if that comes off the rim and starts damaging the bodywork. You've got to sort of be so careful with that. You don't really want to hurry up too much. Look, smoking away. It looks like he's near enough to the pits to get away with it.
I don't think he is. He's just finished sector 2. It happened in the first sector, and so this is a very expensive problem for Kimi Raikkonen. One Montoya goes past him. He was in 10th place. That's how much Raikkonen has lost. I was talking about the rubbish and bits and pieces in the pit lane. I wonder if that had anything to do with this, because certainly there was a feeling he would pick up on the tyres, and it takes a while for the grip to come back again once you come out of a pit stop. Here comes Rubens Barrichello, a very feisty stint for him, and he comes in from 6th place.
Yes, it is. I wonder if Raikkonen can get all the way back without the sidewalls, but when the tyre drags, it just heats up massively, and then you get separation between the tread and the side. Well, there it is. He's just getting to that phase now. He's got to push really, otherwise no, he has. He has lost the carcass of the tyre. Is he going to do any damage to the bodywork? He might just get away with this, but those flailing bits start nibbling away at your rear wing. He's just going to make it. Trouble is, when you get there, you've got no brakes. All the weight distribution of the car's completely out of kilter. Ted is receiving it.
He's coming towards me. If it is a puncture, it must have happened just as he left the pit lane, because they looked at the tyres at the pit stop and they were all fine. So they take off the damaged wheel. They're having a look at it and see if it's okay. I think it is. They put the wheel on. The new tyre is from yesterday's practice. Kimi gets away. There's a bit of damage to the floor just before the rear tyre, but not enough to get him out of the race.
Yes, and they have to put a tyre on that has done as much, if not more mileage, if they've got them, than the tyre that they took off, is my understanding. But Raikkonen back into the race, and there he goes. And it obviously spat him off the road, didn't it, when the tyre let go in a high-speed corner. And I tell you, there goes the carcass then. And it's right onto the racing line as well.
It's like going down the motorway when a truck has had a blowout. You've got to dodge all the horrible little mucky black bits. Make sure you don't hit anything too solid at too high a speed. Very difficult then for the drivers who follow. Catastrophic disaster for his race then for Kimi Raikkonen. That will push him quite a long way back. That is the top 8 at the moment then. Alonso, Trulli, Fisichella.
Traditionally, baggy overalls bring back. Come underneath our commentary box at some point, we should drag him up here. Barrett muscling his way through, as Ralf Schumacher did. Luckily for him, but Barrichello under siege then. And that release of Coulthard's given him breathing space. Coulthard's already got in front of Rubens. That's how much he's struggling. And now I can see a situation coming on where Rubens is going to be, normally it's the first and second we used to say this, but Rubens is going to have to be moved out of the way and not hold Michael up if they want to score some points. And clear then, Rubens really almost didn't bother to fight that, did he? He knew it was inevitable.
He's got no pace. The message of this race will be winging its way back to Italy and over to Japan, where Bridgestone are based. Ferrari and Bridgestone have got some problems here in the hot climate of Malaysia. Barrichello, though, having another little look back at Clean, more out of pride than anything else. Clean seems to have the pace to resist. Yes, he does through 1 and 2. But a little bit of a wobble there for Clean. Does that allow Barrichello a sniff of it? Good dogfight here, Barrichello, good racer, Michael Schumacher. Look how much trouble he's having getting his car to go around the corners with Felipe Massa right behind him.
Michael Schumacher, the meat in a Brazilian driver sandwich at the moment. None of them, and the pair of them are 70. Can't accept team orders when he shouldn't eat any. Rubens quite clearly, he's on the softer tyre. They've got to pay horribly, they're just not working for him. There's no pace, no grip, no confidence, and therefore he has no chance.
Well, we just cut away from that, but I fancy Michael Schumacher will be having a go at Rubens Barrichello. There's Mark Webber, and he's back now on the tail of Giancarlo Fisichella, so I called it a Prix behind him, who looks very comfortable at the moment behind his team leader.
2 Williams, so after that run, Rubens Barrichello then with a lot of understeer. As the tyres go down, you lose the depth of the rubber. What generates a lot of the heat in a racing tyre is the way that the rubber moves around, and as soon as it starts getting thin, you lose that temperature. And I'd be surprised if front wing gets the job done once you've gone through that zone.
The air temperature here at Sepang is 35 degrees. The track one Grand Prix in Australia for most of these runners. We've lost already Anthony Davidson and Jenson Button to engine-related problems, we understand. But all the rest of these guys are getting very close. We're in uncharted territory, really, in terms of engine life and engine mileage. 20 laps to go. How many more? Situation's got a long way to go.
And this will be Coulthard, a replay of Coulthard passing Rubens, who gets out of shape under braking. Coulthard with the balance and grip just to duck inside of him. And a replay then, is that a replay? Yeah, it's a replay of Barrichello's pit stop, where the fueling hose was reluctant to come out and they were cracking, where they're starting to get punished. Watch this! This is Webber's gone through, up into 3rd place. We're on board with Nick Heidfeld, who's 5th, and he just watched the move. And looks like Fisichella's going to have another run down the outside and into turn 14 in the hairpin. Will Webber have his second contact there? He will! And Webber is out. So is Fisichella, probably. Webber out of the Grand Prix. Heidfeld will go through. Has Fisichella kept the engine running? No! The steering wheel comes off. And finally then, Mark Webber runs out of luck in that final turn, right in the pit entry. There was a lot of rubbish down from Kimi Raikkonen's puncture earlier in the race, and Flavio Briatore choosing to use some English words there instead of Italian ones to describe his dissatisfaction. And that would have come down to earth with quite a bump for Fizzy. And well, we'll have to see a replay, but I thought it seemed fair enough to come up the inside and have a look.
Well, Webber walked over to where Fisichella was.
And Mark kind of put his car in a dangerous place there, you have to say, by steaming down the outside. He might have been better. Look at all the rubbish on the track. And Fizzy's gone in too hot, drifts into the side of Webber. And it's difficult to pin blame on that. I think Mark put his car in a dangerous position and didn't allow for any margin. He knew he was squeezing Fisichella and didn't allow him any room, just in case.
Didn't have an awful lot of room to go, so it's a pretty wide track here, 15 metres in places, one of the widest circuits in Formula 1, particularly that corner there, but Webber certainly managed to turn right enough, and the two collided, and that's a bit of a gift really for Nick Heidfeld, who moves up into 3rd place now. Ralf Schumacher into
let alone a Grand Prix driver. What's going to be interesting for me, James, as we watch Ralf Schumacher on track, trying to hang on to Montoya, just 2.3 seconds adrift, as you can see. But Montoya's teammate Raikkonen is now beginning to catch clean, and Michael Schumacher back in 7th and 8th, so he's got enough laps, I think, to haul the pair of those in. So Raikkonen might just drag that other McLaren back into the points.
So as Jarno Trulli contemplates the 16-second gap he has behind Fernando Alonso, just 8 laps to go, and hoping everyone's going to last here at Sepang. Surely this young man's date with destiny is right here, right now. He started this race 2 years ago from pole position, got a podium that day, but that was the best he could do. He's come here with the best car in Formula 1 at the moment, and he has won the Malaysian Grand Prix, and he thoroughly deserves it.
Come on, guys. You are number one. You are number one, guys.
You are indeed number one.
You are the best. You are the best. We show everybody that. Good job. Good weekend. Thank you so much.
Well, champion-elect, speaking on the radio there.
A little bit early to say, who knows, but he's certainly a contender. And look at this, the first podium in Formula 1 for Toyota. Fantastic effort from Jarno Trulli. And there is Nick Heidfeld. That's great for him on his first year with BMW Williams. And nothing to choose between Michael Schumacher, Klein and Raikkonen. Look, waiting to see them come out of the final corner. We're looking at Flavio Briatore as Montoya crosses the line 4th. But what about Ralf Schumacher? He is in 5th place, waiting for him to see him come through. It's been a hard-working afternoon for Flavio, judging by his shirt. And here we go. This is the scrap. Michael Schumacher, Klein behind him, Raikkonen just right behind Klein as well. There you can see the three of them. Can any of them do anything?
I think Raikkonen's just a touch too far behind the Red Bull, not been too shabby on straight line speed. Coulthard has finished 6th, Schumacher will be 7th, and Klein is going to snatch a point one more time, holding Kimi Raikkonen off at the end of the Grand Prix. Raikkonen after that puncture there with nothing to take home from actually a very good drive in 9th place.
Wow, what an afternoon for Raikkonen, for absolutely nothing to take away from it apart from learning something about the car possibly. But what an afternoon once again for Red Bull Racing, 6th and 8th. Another 4 points for them then to add to their tally from Melbourne, and they're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I read in all the British papers about Coulthard being on pocket money in the points bonus, which is absolute rubbish. I didn't read anything that was remotely accurate, but DC with a nice contract doing a good job.
There is the race winner, Fernando Alonso. We'll see the emotion in a moment when he gets out of the car and goes up onto the podium. back to Sepang, where 23-year-old Fernando Alonso has won the Malaysian Grand Prix, second Grand Prix in a row then this season to have been won by Renault, and that's why they're in that commanding position. You can see P1 in the World Championship. Toyota, would you believe, going to second ahead of Red Bull Racing, with Ferrari down in fourth, and then Williams and McLaren. What a Constructors' Championship table that is. BAR Honda, nothing for them this afternoon. Anthony Davidson standing in for the ill Takuma Sato and Jenson Button, both retiring early with what looked like engine problems. But I bet Mike Gascoigne is a happy man. He is the technical director of Toyota. They've got their first podium this afternoon, and he will say that he had a hand in setting up the Renault team that's currently dominating Formula One.
James, but Mike Gascoigne, certainly you're not sweating. I bet you were sweating in the last few laps of that race, weren't you?
Yeah, we did say that after the second pit stops it would be a long few laps. It seemed to take forever, but Jarno's doing a great job looking after the car. So yeah, fantastic result for the team.
Great drive from him, because he's got a bit of a reputation. We know he's a great qualifier, but really pumped in the lap times today.
Yeah, I mean, he was criticised. You know, people said after Melbourne it was Jarno dropping off the pace. Well, he showed what he can do here, and you know, I'm very pleased with the guy. He's a fantastic guy, and it's just a great effort from him and the whole team.
What's this going to mean to the team? Because there's been a bit of pressure from Japan to get results, hasn't there, this year?
Yeah, well, we delivered, and so you know, we need to go on. We need to start winning some races.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Great news, Mike Gascoigne. There's the Renault team, waiting to see their man come on the podium. Only one of their cars finishes today. Fisichella eliminated in an accident, but big up to Bob Bell, the new technical director of Renault, who took over when Gascoigne left the team for Toyota. He has steered the ship and moved it forward. And his chief aerodynamicist, Dino Tozo, also watching back in the UK, I've no doubt. Fantastic job by all of his aerodynamic departments to produce a tremendous car that is quick over a single lap, is quick over a race distance, looks after its tyres, and this year it's so important. Also the people over in France, Rob White and his team making the engines, they've found an extra 30 horsepower. It all adds up to a formidable package from the Renault. And the big names of Formula One, Ferrari, McLaren, Williams, have got some catching up to do, for sure. Toyota, though, will be very, very happy with their performance. I guess we have to look at the drive of the day, Martin. There's a few pretty strong performances today.
Yeah, I think so. A bit of me wants to give it to Nick Heidfeld, and there'll be some smiling and slightly relaxed faces, I think, of Williams on that, just wondering how good is Nick Heidfeld, and I think he's delivered a very mature performance today, and a solid and well-earned third place. In the end, though, it's Alonso who got the job done in qualifying. Obviously, he set his car up better than Fisichella. Fisichella lost that barge board in there. That's when he started backing himself into the field with aerodynamic imbalance. But for the second race, it's 2 out of 2 for Renault, and for me, it's 2 out of 2 for Alonso.
2 out of 2 drivers of the day then for Fernando Alonso, the new World Championship leader. We're only 2 races into 19. He's certainly one of the men we expect to see close to the top at the end of the season, but we certainly haven't heard the last of Ferrari. They were off the pace here this weekend. The bodywork of Michael Schumacher, Ross Brawn, and these born winners who've had so much success says that they're going to go back to Italy. They're going to try and sort this problem out. Certainly a lot of testing going to happen next week in Mugello. Barrichello and Michael Schumacher going to have a run in the new car to make a final decision whether or not they should bring it to Bahrain in 2 weeks' time. But it certainly would be a bit of a gamble. Pace here this weekend would be one of the deciding factors, and I think the lesson is that they need it as soon as possible. The Malaysian fans had to sit out there in searing heat today, but they've seen a decent race, and they've seen a young man who is moving further and further up the rankings in Formula One. Undoubtedly a champion of the future, but will that future be this year? The Spanish anthem for Alonso, the French for Renault. He looks like he's struggling a bit on the podium though. It's been hard work for an hour and a half behind the wheel, but he manages a smile. Fernando Alonso went to the Maldives to do some training and a bit of a relax after the Australian Grand Prix to acclimatise himself. Flavio Briatore there collects a trophy once again, 2 in a row there, 2 wins in a row for the Renault team. And I bet these boys will be hoping that champagne they're about to spray is nice and cold because they need to cool down. Trulli, one of his best friends, unfortunately back in Italy, died this weekend. He's an emotional man as a result of that, but there he is collecting 2nd place. And Nick Heidfeld, what a great moment for him.
Second podium for Heidfeld. What we need now is the new 2005 Ferrari to be the business and get right in amongst this lot as well for some cracking Grand Prix about to come up. David Coulthard becomes the highest scoring British Grand Prix driver of all time, with just passing Nigel Mansell today, so he'll be pretty chuffed with that. But these guys will be even more pleased, I suspect.
Well, there's a bit of a lack of effort about the champagne spraying for Fernando Alonso, but no lack of effort behind the wheel. He is the new World Championship leader, and next stop is Bahrain.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. See you in Bahrain.
Congratulations to the 3 podium finishers of the torrid Petronas Malaysian Grand Prix. Nick Heidfeld third for BMW Williams, Jarno Trulli second for Panasonic Toyota, and winning Renault's second Grand Prix in a row, Fernando Alonso. Fernando, look today as if you had to win 2 races, once against your opposition and another against the conditions out there.
Yeah, it was very tough conditions, as we knew before the start of the race, and unfortunately the drink bottle didn't work, so half a race had problems, and I finished on the limit for the hydration.
The car over that distance, it looked faultless, but what was it like in the cockpit?
Yeah, it was okay. I saved a little bit tires at the beginning, thinking that the first stint maybe was the most risky time for the rear tires. And then after that I saw that Jarno was slowing down a little bit, so I slowed down as well, save more tires, and the last stint was just low revs and saving tires again, so I was not pushing really hard in any part of the race, but the car was very easy to drive and really easy.
Those last closing laps in this heat must have seemed very long.
Yeah, not only the last. I think the last 15 or 20 laps were very long, and the same for everybody always here in Japan. But maybe more if you are in P1, you are very close to win the race. It's the second race for the engine and for the car, and you are a little bit worried, obviously. But everything was perfect, and the team showed again that we are the team to beat.
Congratulations, a fantastic drive. Jarno, congratulations to you too. First ever podium finish for the Panasonic Toyota team. Tried to hold on to Fernando there in the early laps. Tell us about that, and then as the race progressed.
I had an extremely good start, but again the Renault seems getting away pretty well. Anyway, I drove my race. I was quite competitive. I was following Fernando, but at one stage I could see that there was no matches, and I started managing the race, taking care of the tires. During the first race I had a tire problem, and then I just managed to finish the race. I think I was pretty easy in second position, pulling away, controlling people from the pit. They kept telling me to slow down, so it's fantastic to bring the first podium finish to Toyota.
In these conditions, the more so, using this engine now for 2 Grand Prix, the tyres for the full distance, how near to the limit were you towards the end?
Let's say that we were quite comfortable on reliability, even if in this condition it's always terrible with Marmorini has done, and all this crew has done a fantastic job over the winter time in reliability stuff. But I think half race I started pulling down revs and tried to slow down, taking care of the tires. And also it was really hard for the driver's side, and for this I have to thank Ceccarelli, because he treated me with infusion as I was sick at the beginning of this week.
A wonderful drive, congratulations too. Nick, been quick all weekend, but 10th on the grid up to 3rd place, a fabulous race for you, and you don't actually look that sweaty or hot.
No, it was very hot. I mean, as usual in hot races, as Fernando just said, also my drink bottle failed. This always ends on the places where you don't want it to happen from the beginning on. And other than probably those 2 guys, I had to push very hard, as I was only 10th on qualifying, because I did a mistake in Q2, and I thought that cost me the race, but I had a very good start and some good overtaking maneuvers.
And an interesting race from your point of view. You were racing there with Ralf Schumacher, and also later on, of course, you were right behind Mark Webber and Giancarlo Fisichella.
Yeah, I was together with 2 other cars at a lot of the stages of the race, so it was not like one-on-one. It was 2 people fighting in front of me, and then the 3rd car getting involved. It was very complex, but very interesting, and I got the upper hand.
And the car, the tyres, the engine?
Obviously, everything was really good. In the end, as normal, we tried to save the engine a bit, pushed really hard in the middle stint. In the end, the last 10 laps, it was just controlling the pace to Montoya.
Very good drive. Fernando, we return to you as the first Spaniard ever to lead the FIA Formula One World Championship, and Renault looking very dominant at the moment. Your thoughts about the upcoming races?
It will be maybe more difficult for us because we start in very strong position, but we saw this weekend that Toyota, Williams, and always McLaren and Ferrari are very strong, and the competition is tough now. So Bahrain was not a perfect place for us last year, so I think we will suffer a little bit. And then when we arrive in Europe, I think will be also tough, because has been always good for the other teams. But this year everything seems different. Renault is always good in any type of the circuits, and I'm totally confident that in Bahrain we will be again the reference.
Congratulations. Now we have some words from you in Spanish.
Sí, ha sido una carrera muy dura. Desde el principio el coche no iba del todo bien, pero intenté calcular y proteger un poco los neumáticos de atrás. Y bueno, veía que me iba de llano poco a poco y bueno, seguí sin arriesgar tanto con las revoluciones del motor como con los neumáticos, y al final acabé en buenas condiciones. Por desgracia el sistema de bebida de agua no funcionó en esta carrera y no pude beber nada, y la verdad es que cuando me bajé del coche tuve una bajada de presión y bueno, sufrí un poco más en el podio casi que en el coche.
Thank you. Jana?
È stata una bella gara per me, una buona partenza e la macchina è andata bene tutto il weekend, sono molto contento. È una bella sfida che vinco con un nuovo team, è il primo podio per la Toyota, quindi è estremamente bello, anche se ho delle emozioni miste in questo momento, e dedico questa mia bellissima gara a Stefano, un mio carissimo amico che oggi non c'è più.
Thank you, Jana. And Nick in German.
Ja, natürlich total zufrieden mit dem Rennen, zumal ich vom 10. Startplatz gestartet bin, mein zweites Podium, dem 3. Platz. Das Auto ist problemlos gelaufen, das ganze Rennen. Hatte ein paar interessante Kämpfe und Überholmanöver, und ich denke, es war oder hoffe, dass für alle Zuschauer ein interessantes Rennen war.
Thank you, gentlemen.